Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to LEGO Harry Potter. Let's continue. LEGO Harry Potter years 1 through 4. We're in years 3. I believe we were just caught by the teacher and sent back to our dormitory, which is where we start this level in the open world of Hogwarts. And we just leave again. The game definitely feels like there were cutscenes that absolutely were planned to happen between some of these levels. But I guess it kind of makes sense too that if you're sent back to your dormitory, you'd be sent back to your dormitory. Of course, this is a magical dormitory too that stops people from the other houses or the other dormitories from getting in, but seems to have no ability to monitor or stop the kids from wandering out. I kind of wonder if all these paintings that are magical on the walls might actually be intentionally working with Harry Potter to allow him to wander around, or maybe even to put him in danger. I'm noticing things are staying saved in the same position. So those two plants were grown, this plant, I'll grow that one. And this portion has been done. And we're back to this guy who I think is this year's Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, maybe? I don't think he plays... I don't think any of them really play too much of a purpose. So he finally teaches Harry how to cast a spell, because Harry for this whole time hasn't had that ability. So Harry is really frightened of these Dementors, which, for a good reason. So I have to stay, I guess, a relatively medium distance away from them. And unlike the two previous versions of this level, which this game is really showing that it's bad about being repetitive. There's a little shrunken Lego head. Now it's an even larger Lego head. With the levels that are just like training levels, here you will learn a new spell. At least they've changed it a little bit here. And in the cutscene we saw that the teacher is afraid of the moonlight, which kind of unsurprising. Anybody has probably figured out that he's probably a werewolf. That is typical in kids' stories. They will make something rather obvious so that even the kids can figure it out and feel smart. I much rather prefer in stories in general that there is a reveal that you could have figured out but almost certainly wouldn't have. I was always a little upset with the Sherlock Holmes stories, however, because they were written from the perspective of Watson, and in that way most of the time Sherlock Holmes would see some piece of evidence or have some piece of knowledge that you just could not possibly have had for a lot of the books, so you couldn't actually have figured out what Sherlock Holmes figured out because you just didn't have the same information. So that always felt like a little bit of a shame. Well, what am I supposed to do now? I'm supposed to probably hit this. Ah. And then that projects that. And then that does that. Remember, we are still in the overworld. We haven't even started the level yet. There are definitely themes in this book in particular about overcoming fears. Which is a nice idea. It's kind of created in a very fantastical story. I think it would be more true to terms if it was something kids could actually relate to. Like, kids aren't going to see Dementors. They are going to be afraid of heights and the dark and simple things. So I learned the spell, so I can leave this classroom now. Go ahead and just jump this direction. Run to the middle here, and the ghost will tell me which way to go. And then I can figure out where he's going to go, so jump in front of him. And which way is it going? This way. It is a... Anytime a author is writing for kids, they often are hiding normal day, commonplace themes in fantasy settings. And sometimes that's done well, sometimes it's ham-fisted and not necessary. As an adult reader, I would probably say for the Harry Potter series, I don't want any of that in there unless it rang true. But as a child reader, it might be very beneficial to cover topics like that. Also, as an adult reader, I'm not going to particularly be afraid of very many things that are illegitimate fears. That's always been my mentality of it. There are things you should be afraid of, things like falling down and tripping and breaking a bone. Those are legitimate fears that might happen. And then there are things that you shouldn't be afraid of, like the dark. Just because it's dark. Of course, if you're walking downstairs in the dark, you should be afraid because then you'll fall down and trip on it. So there's always nuance and there's always certain situations to be aware of. So is that the prisoner of Azkaban in the back? No, it's just an animal reading the newspaper. Interesting. So are they coming to arrest the guy again? Has he been framed yet again? I don't know why this guy doesn't just like run away. Take all his animals and run. So now we're chasing the rat through a cutscene, and I think we're gonna get into another fight, which hopefully it's better than the last snowball fight we had. Alright, so I'm just gonna run around a little bit, and it seems like we need to turn into Hermione and then use our cat form to, well, not her cat form as much as use her cat to dig up things. See, that didn't do anything. Because that needs dark magic still. That needs dark magic, so digging up was not the answer. We spent this whole like 2 or 3 levels focusing on the ridiculous spell. Are you supposed to jump in there? And I kind of wonder if I'm even going to use that here. I remember if the book is like the movie, they really did focus on the Dementors being the only real enemy and the fear. This is where the whole series starts to go a little awkward to me and further away from what I thought it was originally and kind of far away from what I wanted to be. Because it starts getting this darkness to it that I wasn't really expecting. See, again, we're just like, you do have to hop in here, and then when you're up there, you can hit the sprouts. Alright. So the flaw in this design is there's no way to really trigger the enemy from doing the attack you need, and all the other attacks are just programmed and there for no real reason. So I really am just having to run around and do nothing while it goes through its fight sequence. I can't do any damage to him, I can't speed up its attack. Standing in a specific area doesn't trigger anything. And then just hop in there with the Y button and then hit the X button like crazy. And that takes out the tree. So we can jump down here. So now we are a little bit in a different platforming section. This is the 2D platforming section that they sometimes use and develop. So this is some kind of puzzle to get this green ball to roll. And when we get the green ball to roll, what do we do? Ah, it turns into a seed. A seed with leaves that I wish I could jump up. Is Hermione actually worse at jumping? She is. She actually, I think, is a little bit worse at jumping. That's quite the change for LEGO games, because typically they have the girls in games just in general as higher jumpers, and I've even been a little critical on some of the LEGO games for breaking everything down just by the genders like this, and now in this one they've gone the other way. It makes sense. It's kind of in with the character though, because if I was to roughly describe who is the most athletic, I would assume that it is probably Harry Potter, because he can do that whole Quidditch stuff, is the most athletic, because also being being raised in the Muggle world, he probably does more things physically, whereas it seems like the wizard people do everything with spells. So we need to take this and place it there, and take this and place it there. So Hermione, being the smartest of the group, unquestionably, as far as book smarts at least, it would make a lot of sense that that she might be lacking in actual physical ability. And as far as the movies, I don't think we saw her do anything really physical. Not that there really is that much to do in Hogwarts that's physical. It's Quidditch and pretty much it, and then everything else is about casting spells. I'd say Ron is probably a little bit more physically capable because he was probably always wrestling and getting harassed by his sisters and brothers. So they find the prisoner of Azkaban hiding in this place, and now we're not even playing as Harry and Ron or I forgot her name. Hermione. Yeah, that's it. Slight forget there. It's a strange name. Kind of hard to remember. You'd think the weird names would stick out in my mind. So we're trying to, I guess, capture this mouse and stop places where it potentially could escape. So every time I hit something what a mouse is, it seems like it is spitting out another piece. Oh, I'm building a giant mouse trap. It's a little strange to get away from playing as Harry Potter because all the levels up to this point have been played by those characters. We haven't played as anyone else. Mouse piece. There we go. Now everything dances from a rather far distance to each other. Almost every other LEGO game fixed this issue way better. I've never seen pieces so far away from each other. I make this giant LEGO mousetrap, which actually would be a cool set to make, but I don't think LEGO would ever approve it. I could probably build it with custom pieces though, or just not custom pieces. So from this perspective you see it was the mouse guy that did it. And he turns into a dog and convinces him to run away. Poor Ron is still scratching his head, confused. It's kind of weird because for a game that often has the problem of having two characters playable when there really should be only one character in the story, this is one of those rare examples where it's the opposite. There should be three characters playable right now: Ron and Hermione and Harry. Now, I still would probably argue that the storytelling is very strange to have this group of three kids in most of the action of all the books. Let's see. I guess I have to build something here. And how does that help me? It helps me by that random occurrence, okay. So build just standard Lego things with really no connection whatsoever to anything else on the screen. Just Lego bricks for Lego bricks' sake. Not very well integrated into the rest of the story. So I'm gonna have to put a spell together, I believe. Get a strength potion, so pull out the cat again. Hit that X button to dig. There we are. And let's start with this. Nope. Alright, well, we know there's one piece here. That's one. We'll put this together. Come over here. See what this assembles. Lock on the one piece and quit toggling between multiple pieces. So that's another piece. And we know that it's this plant. We just need the plant to change color. So we'll plant this seed. We'll plant this seed. Ah, it's actually this plant. Alright. Now drink this. Now I believe the cat can get up there. Come on, cat. Stay on the platform. Get up there and dig. Now these little wood gnomes show up and give us a ladder. We're still in the level, but we're about to finish, I would imagine. In fact, we might very abruptly finish the level since I'm about to get True Wizard, and I have yet to actually get True Wizard in any level. Student Peril save. Put together a mushroom. Bounce up here. Now, do they figure out a way to cure this guy? I don't think they do. I'm not sure if he just doesn't run away and they never see him again in the story. It may very well be that the character gets killed off screen. Ah, yes. And this is, I believe, the big fight, the Dementors and all. For this book. And he's saved by a wild stag. That's the end of the level. At 24 minutes, it's a little bit longer than some levels. Still rather short by modern standards. Yeah, I kind of like levels to be about 30 minutes to an hour, personally. I think that's the right length. That's what I would guess games are should shoot for. Unless you're making a puzzle game that has like 500 levels, that 500 hours on the puzzle game is probably too much to ask for every game. But for most games that are only going to have 30 levels, 30 hours sounds about right. Anywho, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps out. If you want to support me further, you can click on my name, Rydo. On the right will be a blue button that says support this channel. Click it, make a donation. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.